hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. I am your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, and I am so delighted that you are here. We are circling the wagons, about to end the year 2022. For some of you, that 2022 has been the longest decade of your life. And we are here to support you with today's theme, which is how do you deal with anger and pain? It sounds like it's an uncomfortable topic, but I promise you, you're going to walk away from this empowered. And I have a quote to help you see just that. Do you want to hear the quote?
Yes.
Okay. Quote is from the Gospel of Thomas. You've probably heard me say this before. If you bring forth that which is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you. That's from Jesus H. the Christ in the Gospel of Thomas. Welcome to the Daily Huddle.
That was beautiful.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Grand rising. I am so excited to be here with you today because this is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about the shadow aspects of our humanity. I think that the more we confront the shadow, the more we can bring it to light. Darkness is the birthplace of light, after all. And so before we get all into this juicy conversation, I want us to ground ourselves into the now moment. And I'm going to ask my friend Giovanni to help me do that. Giovanni, how are you? And what time is it?
Thank you, Dr. Ogando. I am more than likely the way I say I am. And today I say I am curious.
Mm.
And the next question was, where am I?
No, what time is it?
What time is it? And right now is, let me look. I see Robin. Time is now.
Time is now. Hallelujah. I love it. Hello, old friend. Hi, Robin. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so what are you grateful for and who are you going to hug today?
Wow. I can't even tell you. There's a video of me from last year when I was hosting the show. It's a whole half hour about what I'm grateful for. So you can go back and watch it in the archives. Today, fresh air, breath, the blue sky. I'm day 5 of COVID, completely over. I'm grateful for my God-given immune system that adapted 10 days the first time last July, like a year and a half ago. And this time, 4 days, kicked its butt. Robin 2, COVID nothing. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the immune system I have in my body. And I'm going to hug every single person that'll let me hug them today.
Oh, right. Yes.
But I'm going to wear a mask
because
I'm still in quarantine protocol.
Okay. All right. So post quarantine, get consent and then hug them. Okay. I like
4 days with a
the
mask and ask first. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, we're glad that you are here. I'm so happy that we have this conversation at the end of the year because, as you may have heard me say in a previous episode, nature gives us an idea of what we should be concerning ourselves with. And so when the sun gets shorter, the sun rays or the sunlight gets shorter and shorter, and the nights get longer and longer, this is a clue. This is a clue to be paying more attention to the internal and to the shadow side than to the light side or the external stuff. And so I thought today's topic might be useful because we're right smack in the middle of the holiday season. Between right around the middle of October towards the end of the year, there are about 33 holy days in different spiritual traditions. And so in spiritual matters, we honor and we respect multiple cultures, and we say happy holidays because we don't know which one of those 33 holidays you're celebrating, for the love of the Lord. And so we want to honor that by also addressing how apropos that towards the end of the fall and the beginning of winter, we really are approaching the darkest days of the year. And so we want to go within and we want to look into what does our shadow have to teach us? And today's topic is about how do you deal with anger or pain? Now, on the surface, that sounds like a touchy subject. And the reason why it sounds like a touchy subject is because our current culture does a very, very poor job of honoring what I'll call the dark emotions: anger, guilt, rage, despair, sadness, etc. Typically, the way that you handle your anger or pain today has a lot to do with the emotional lessons that you learned in your childhood. If when you were a child, and track with me, I'm willing to be wrong about this, let me know in the chat, let me know below, hit a 1 if this resonates, hit a 2 if you think I'm crazy and this does not resonate at all, okay? So 1 if it resonates, 2 if it doesn't. When you were a child, you might have been told, stop all that crying. I'll give you something to cry about. Or if you heard somebody say, an adult say, compare your pain to somebody else. Well, at least you're not one of those starving children in China. And maybe you heard something like, boys don't cry, or quit acting like a girl. Or perhaps you heard, not now. Like there's an appropriate time and place to express your anger or your sadness, et cetera, like they didn't want to be embarrassed by you and your public displays of emotion, not in the supermarket, man, not at church, man. We can do this at home, we can do this in the car. And so you learned when you were a child that the full expression of you was not welcome. And that there were aspects of your emotional expression, such as anger, et cetera, that you want to reserve for special occasions. Like your vulnerability is a gift that you only give people that you deem safe because it's not for public consumption. Right? Robin's over there nodding his head. I told you, if you can't say amen, you gotta say ouch. So that gives you a clue of how you have been taught to deal with your anger and with your pain. When you were a child and you were told all these things, the most effective mechanism that you had to deal with anger and pain was to stuff it. Because you didn't know when it was a good time to say it or not say it, to cry it or not cry, et cetera. So just stuff it. Or take it out in some other way. So you got to pick on your little brother or your little sister. You got to do little sabotage things like slam the door in your house and, or go into your room. And if you had a room, if you were like me and you had to share your room with your sister, then it's like you didn't have any privacy. And so I want you to think about how those coping strategies that served you well in childhood, whether it was stuffing it or running away from it or pretending it didn't matter or comparing it to somebody else's pain, et cetera, I want you to think about how those coping strategies that you had in childhood, you've dragged them along into your adulthood, and now they've become maladaptive. Now they get in the way of intimacy. Now they get in the way of honesty, integrity. Because you can walk around in the office, I'm fine, nothing's the matter. And it's all over your face. People are looking at you like, ooh, that's a ticking time bomb right there, but you're not willing to say anything. You're not even lying. You're just not saying anything, because lying would assume that people are being deceived. People are not being deceived. And so, how do you deal now with anger and pain? Where do you go? Where do you put it? And I am asserting with us today in our lovely, intimate, connected Daily Huddle family that where you put it today is where you were taught to put it when you were a child. Maybe you bury it. Maybe you take it out in your physicality. You go to the gym and you punch some stuff instead of punching your boss or punching your wife or punching your husband or punching your children. You punch the boxing thing. I don't know what the thing is called. You know, that big old bag, the heavy bag.
It's a punching bag. It's a punching bag, a heavy bag.
A heavy bag, yes. Thank you. So some of that might be useful. It might keep you out of jail. But what does it do to your heart? What does it do to your sense of self-acceptance? That there are pieces of you that must remain hidden in order for you to walk among the mortals. What does it do for your soul when there are parts of you that you are not even willing to express to the people that you feel safest with, let alone in public? And there are pieces of you that you feel are too dangerous or too unforgivable for you to share with anybody else. Because you know what you've done when you've been in your anger, when you've been in pain. There is a movie, this is a resource that I think might be useful for you. There's a movie that I saw some years ago called Inside Out. And you've heard me talk about it in a previous episode of the Daily Huddle. The little girl and her parents have to move from origin city A to destination city B. I forget which ones they are. I think it's like Minnesota to San Francisco or something like that. And the ups and the downs that she goes through in her own emotional world is signified by these beautiful cartoon characters. And it's so interesting because it all comes from positive psychology theory. And the positive psychology theory says that there's an id and there's an ego. There's like a soul, like a neutral adult. You know, you have the child, the parent, and the super parent. And then like the parent is like the adult, the thinking mind, the logical mind. And that's the one that's quote unquote in control. And that one is the one that is like managing all of the other emotions. So the logical mind is like, here's what sadness is doing. Here's what disdain is doing. Here's what anger is doing. Here's etc. Right? And one of the things that I thought was so powerful, because sadness, the emotion of sadness in that movie was like the troubled child. We just have to do something with sadness. Lord have mercy. She's always messing things up. And every memory that she touches, she turns it into a trauma. Lord have mercy. So what they learned is that the function of sadness is to create connection, to create empathy. Because when I'm sad and I express my sadness, when you see me crying, when you see me kind of like struggling to find my words, etc., don't you lean in a little bit? What's going on with Monikah? That's all right, girl, take your time. And I'm over here, and you're like, it's okay, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. And so you create this level of connection, empathy, support, nurturing, etc. That's the function of sadness. And yet, what do you do when you're sad? You go away. You isolate yourself. Same thing with anger. What is the purpose of anger? Now, they didn't go into this in the movie, but I'm going to assert that the purpose of anger is to restore order and justice. Typically, when we get angry about something, it's because there has been an injustice, perceived or otherwise. It doesn't need to be quote unquote real. It just has to be real to you. There's been some kind of injustice that has befallen you, and you want to make it right. It's not right, dang it. then you get 2 plátanos and I only get 1. It's not right that my brother gets to stay up at night and I have to go to bed. It's not right, et cetera, right? And so the purpose of anger is to restore order and justice. And if you were to look at anger as an advocate instead of an impolite, unwelcome guest to dinner, then what would be available in terms of connection, of empathy, of articulating your values and finding commonalities in somebody else's values as well? Because I'm going to say that the people that you're in a relationship with, they, for the most part, want you to win. How they go about seeing you winning or what they deem to be winning, maybe that's up for negotiation. Maybe that's up for clarification. Maybe that's up for discussion so that we can operate from the same sheet of music. But at least when you do that, when you come from a place of let's talk about this, instead of I'm going to cause harm and then you're going to defend yourself because anger is now the enemy. Now we have a deeper place to go in our relationships. And you don't end up burning bridges. So I want to open it up because I'm so curious to find out, number one, how do you deal with your anger or your pain? Does it have anything to do with how you learned to deal with it in your childhood? And what are you learning now from this discussion? Who wants to go first? Ooh, Stacy.
Yeah, I'll be really, really quick. This hit me. Everything I'm hearing today is just hitting me right.
I'm in your Kool-Aid.
I was about to say, mind your business, right? You know what's interesting? I learned many years ago to cry it out. Now I'm a grown man. I have no problem saying, when I'm hurt, I'm angry. Like, I know it's an emotion, like, sadness or that emotional pain is a feeling like any other one. And I also learned, sometimes you just got to cry it out, right? Like, I've learned when my heart is broken, I cry. I want to cry. And then when I'm really, really angry, I want to cry, right? So I'm like, why do I want to cry both these times? Well, I've learned to just let it go, just release it, cry and get it out and move on, right? Another thing I do, though, I've learned to connect with my artistic voice, right? So I draw it out. Sometimes, like, I get in a particular way, I'm like, right now, I'm not angry right now, but I'm like, I'm on an iPad. Like, I'm like, I feel like the art can take it where, if I react the way I feel in a moment, that might be violent, that might be hurtful, that might lead to some distrust. I will make some bad decisions, but the art can take it, right? The art, that's what it's there for, right? So I've learned to really lean into making art at those times. I'm done. Thank you very much. Mind your business, though.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you for putting yourself on the chopping block first. Giovanni, you have something?
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to ask you, I think, in 2 different directions. One aspect of today's conversation is to discover my anger as an advocate rather than an impolite and welcome guest. I don't know how to discover that. How do you discover the anger? Okay. And then the other aspect is, another aspect that you bring into the conversation is, what if anger is there to restore order and justice as a possibility? Like, there's something to do here. So there's a sign for me to take action. And so it is a sign, like an advocate for something. And then there is the what gets displayed for the most part when anger is present, and more than likely creates more chaos, and then later on with other emotions that show up, like compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, restores the chaos created by anger. But not necessarily that anger did the job. It was like the new emotions came to clean it up. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on a little bit of the mess I'm creating, the soup I'm creating here, in this possibility of, okay, I am upset, I'm anger, I have anger. There's something to restore here, but how do I make it my advocate? What are you?
Yes.
You know?
Okay. So your first question was about how do I access this? What is anger here to teach me, or what is it here to reveal, et cetera, and how do I get it to be my advocate? And here's a couple of things to look at. Imagine that your thinking ability, your logic reason ability, is the masculine aspect of your mind, and that the feeling, the emotion, is the feminine aspect of your mind. Okay. Now, if traditionally, if a woman were to be all expressive, et cetera, and just want to fight, the man that she's with, whether it's her brother, her husband, whatever, would typically be like, come on, babe, no, come on, stop, and want to keep you safe. So I want you to think about your thoughts and your logical mind as the masculine that wants to keep those feminine feelings, intuitions, emotions, et cetera. It provides its structure so that it can have its full expression. So the first thought, what am I angry about? And what am I making it mean? What am I angry about, and what am I making it mean? So perhaps you're angry that somebody didn't invite you to Thanksgiving dinner a couple of weeks ago. Why are you angry about that? Well, because it means they don't care. It means they don't love me. It means I'm not important. It means I must have done something wrong. Whatever it means, whatever you're making it mean, go down that rabbit hole and you'll discover what is it that you are considering important that somebody else has ignored. And you'll find what you want to advocate for. Maybe you want to advocate for your own specialness. Maybe you want to advocate for your appetite. Robin says it means they effed up and forgot. Maybe they're like, ooh, I know how Robin can eat, man, and we only got so much food, so. Right. So I want you to think about, what am I angry about and what am I making it mean? And then the third piece of it is, and what would make it right for me in this ego space, right? So for some of us, and I need an apology. For some of us, it would be, I need you to make it up to me. Restorative justice, you know. For some of us, we need a public acknowledgement that you effed up, like Robin said. I want you to admit your wrongness so that I can sit on my high horse and be right about this, right? And so you want to see what games you're playing with yourself so that you can give yourself permission to feel however it is that you're feeling. Maybe you feel insulted, maybe you feel abandoned, maybe you feel anger typically is covering up a deeper request for connection. And so, you know, this could be a weekend retreat, right? But I think that ought to get you started, right, Giovanni?
One of the things that is being triggered as you're speaking is if I have that kind of self-awareness where I look, okay, I'm upset. I'm really upset at this. And it's not what happened that upsets me, it's the meaning I made up. Right. So what is the meaning I made up about that? I made it mean they don't care about me. I made that mean. Mm-hmm. It's sort of in that moment, it sort of breaks apart the anger.
Yeah.
But it's not that it was my advocate. It was my access to see the non-reality I live in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of what I'm seeing, you know, like No, that what they did had nothing to do with my upset. However, whatever they didn't invite me or not, it has nothing to do with what triggered me. It was my meaning. So it's not like anger was an advocate. It was my access to see the illusion I live in, or what I make it real. Well, I guess anger is my advocate to discover my inauthenticities, if you will. That's what kind of like what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, that's great. I like the way that you circle that up. I love that. Yeah, good stuff. Cece, you got something?
Oh yes, thank you so much for the topic. What I'm recognizing is that whatever upset that I have is from learned behavior in the past. And it's all in my mind, and these triggers are opportunities for me to address them, because something in my mind is unresolved. That is the reason why these emotions and triggers and reactions. So my growth is to be authentic with the emotions, get to the root of it. And today I use prayer, writing it out, crying it out, meditating on something good and lovely, spending time in silence, listening to myself, listening to God. So what I learned growing up wasn't healthy. So today I am seeking and learning what healthiness is all about.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for the topic, and I pass.
Of course. Thank you so much. I love that you said that you write it out and that you talk it out, because a lot of times, to your point, Giovanni, sometimes the thing that we're angry about, we made it up in our head anyway. And so it's like, I'm not even mad at you. I'm mad at the idea I have of you. So it's perfectly fine to have a conversation. When Robin pisses me off, I'm going to have a conversation with the Robin in my mind, because the Robin out there did nothing. He's just Robining, he's just living his life. I love it. Speaking of Robin, what you got, Robin?
So I appreciate you with this conversation and everything that you've been doing this year. Thank you so much for what you do and who you are. But I do think advocacy partially. I feel more anger to me was a fuel as a younger person. It was something that motivated me and got me going. When I got my gears up, I was ticked off about something. Boy, you couldn't stop me. I was going to tear a wall down to justice. But then as I got older and I realized, Stan Freberg did a comedy thing years and years and years ago. And he said, when Betsy Ross did the Stars and Stripes, that George Washington wanted polka dots and she did Stars and Stripes. And she said, 100 years from now, what the hell difference is it going to make? And I really, that's how I've started looking at things. To me, anger now is the same as the response of me putting my hand on a flame. It is an indicator to me. What do you always say? Check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? To me, anger now is a dear friend that shows up and goes, hey, you're being a jerk. I mean, when I get pissed off about something now, I'm like, okay, what is wrong in me? Because I have no idea what that other person is thinking. I have no idea what their intentions were. And when I said they effed up and forgot to I didn't say it because I wanted justice. That was the only reason that they didn't invite me, was they forgot. Right. So even though I'm making this thing up in my head about how they hate me and they don't love me, they just forgot. They just skipped it. They were doing the calls or they were doing the emails and they got to this one and they stopped and talked and mine was next and they jumped to and didn't even see mine. There was no intention whatsoever, but I'm pissed off. Now they, in no way, shape, or form intentionally, have affected me. And I don't want to be affected by anybody else outside of my own skin except for God. So anger to me is like, I'm putting my hand on the flame. Here it goes. I'm going right. Ow, stop. What are you doing? And why is this bothering you so bad? So it's been a huge learning tool for me. It's been about the last 5 years I've learned that. And I've been able to really navigate life better because of it. And I think if we would all stop for a second, David Letterman, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? And does this need to be said by me right now? Right? You can call those three things and say yes to all three, go for it. But otherwise, shut your mouth and go ask yourself, why are you getting angry? I appreciate it. I'm done.
Yeah, this is good. Thank you, Robin, for your contribution. I love that. I love it. And we are at the top of the half hour here. I just want to say, whether you consider your anger an advocate or an invitation to a deeper discussion, to a deeper discovery of your auditing your assumptions, that's my favorite tenet here at the Daily Huddle. I love that in community, we can discuss that, right? That we can do this impartial self-observation, right? And I'm also quite aware, because I have seen some of you in anger, honey, that you don't have access to that level of higher level thinking when you're in your anger. So I just want you to put a bookmark in this now moment while you're thinking about all these philosophical ways that you're going to approach your anger. And the next time that somebody pisses you off, I want you to remember this moment and what you said to yourself about how you want to express it, the questions that you're going to ask yourself, and the ways in which you're going to maneuver with your anger, not around your anger. Yeah. And the pain, and not with your pain, not around your pain. And so thank you so much for being here with us today. Remember, of course, to love generously, to give of your time, to give of your energy, to give of your attentions, as you've given me this morning, to sleep at least 7 hours, to eat more plant-based, to laugh ostentatiously. I want you to go in the mirror and practice your cacaw laugh, the ridiculous one, the one where you snort, the one when you're almost embarrassed that you found something so funny. That laugh, do that one more often. And I want you to, of course, audit your assumptions. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. When you audit your assumptions, you might find the freedom that you think you don't have access to. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Spiritual Matters. We love you. Have a great rest of your week.
Have a good one, man. Family, peace and blessings.
Take care, everybody. Have an awesome week.
Thank you. Bye.
Enjoy your holiday.
One love, guys. One love.
One love.